right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Board of Commissioners meeting this February 11th, 2025. I'm pleased today that we have Pastor Eugene Fidel of City Church Marietta. He'll be providing our invocation. That will be followed by the pledge brought by Deputy Dulworth. For those of you willing and able, please rise for both our invocation and pledge.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for the opportunity to gather in this room. We thank you for the rain, which is a reminder to us of your provision in our lives, your provision for our families, your provision for our future. And we remember this morning the words of the prophet Isaiah, who said, "Yes, Lord, walking in the way of your truth, we eagerly await your return. For your name and your renown are the desire of our souls." That's our desire, that you are glorified and that you are enjoyed in our lives. So we pray and we ask for your wisdom, we ask for your grace, we ask for your mercy. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Fidel and Deputy Dulworth. Our meeting is now called to order, and this morning we have one presentation, which will be brought by our county manager. For those of you who are here with respect to the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, please join her up front.
Good morning, and thank you, Chairwoman and Commissioners. It is my pleasure to bring before you the recognition of the Budget Division, which lives within the Finance Department, for receiving the GFA Award, which is the Government Finance Officers of America Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. You all can just come on up if you want to. I'll briefly read how we got here. So each biennial budget cycle, the Budget Division, led by an esteemed team within the Finance Department, publishes the county's biannual budget book. This comprehensive document provides a detailed overview of the county's financial landscape, budgetary allocations, financial policies, strategic initiatives, fund overviews, capital plans, and department information. So to receive this recognition from GFA, budget documents must meet a rigorous program criteria and demonstrate excellence as a policy document, financial plan, operations guide, and communications tool for the Finance Department and for the county. This book was awarded as the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, or this team was rather, and it is the highest form of recognition in governmental budgeting. I congratulate this team, Commissioners. The county also received a special recognition for our capital program, an honor granted only when all of the reviewers on the panel award the highest possible score in a specific category. So this achievement reflects the exceptional work of this team, your team, their dedication, their expertise, and hard work of this budget division. I thank you, and I would like to present to you this award on behalf of I'm not sure if Susan would like to say something, but congratulations.
Thank you
for all that you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We really appreciate the recognition. We've been doing this. We appreciate the recognition. We've been doing this every year since I've been in this position, which is 11 years now. And we appreciate all the support that we receive from all the county departments, the Board of Commissioners, and your office in making this happen every year. Thank you.
I would just like to thank my budget team. Susan and her team did a fantastic job. They always do. It was great to have the highest possible rating on the capital plan, but you guys do a great job on the budget book each and every year. And again, thank you to the departments that contribute to that. But thank you all for putting that together so quickly and so well each and every year.
Get the commissioners to stand behind this team. We'd appreciate it. And Ross, if you would grab a picture.
Commissioners, before we go to our public hearings, I move that we add the following non-agenda item to this meeting, which is to recommend the appointment of the fire chief. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, Commissioner Burrow.
I have a final statement to read, but I
Yes.
can wait until after, but,
Okay,
okay,
it's up to you. You can go ahead and read it now.
okay. I'd rather not take away from it.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, any other discussion? We'll call the question. The motion carries 4-0. With that, Commissioners, I'll turn things over to our county manager for this agenda item.
Thank you, Chairwoman, Commissioners. I would like to recommend to you the appointment of Dr. Michael A. Cunningham as our new fire chief. By way of background, Dr. Cunningham joined the Cobb County Fire and Emergency Services Department in 2005 as a firefighter 2 before being promoted to engineer/driver in 2011. He was then promoted to lieutenant in 2016 and captain, chief of staff in 2019. Since October 2020, he has served as the division chief of staff to the fire chief. Dr. Cunningham is an Air Force veteran and holds multiple degrees, including an Associate of Avionics Systems from the Community College of the Air Force, a Bachelor's of Professional Aeronautics from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, a Bachelor's of Computer Science from Troy University. His postgraduate degrees include a Master's of Business Administration from Kennesaw State University, a PhD of Industrial and Organizational Psychology from Grand Canyon University. He received his Fire Chief Officer, or CFO, designation from the CPSE, which is the Commission on Professional Credentialing, is a graduate of the University of Georgia Carl Vinson Institute of Government in our Excel program, Management Development Program, and is a member of the 2023 Leadership Cobb program. He has appeared numerous times as a guest speaker, a public speaker, renowned expert speaker, and facilitator at various conferences, and also is an instructor and an author. So based on the process that we have in place, it is my pleasure to recommend to you for consideration the recommendation of Dr. Michael A. Cunningham as Cobb County's new fire chief.
All right. With that, Commissioners, I move that we approve the recommendation that Dr. McMorris shared to appoint Dr. Michael Cunningham to the fire chief.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
I would just like to say congratulations and thank you. This was a tough decision with two excellent internal candidates, and we love you both, but congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ditto, this was a very difficult decision that we weighed, and we look forward to Michael serving, recognizing the leadership of all of our candidates, and appreciate their service. With that, Commissioners, is there any other discussion? All right, we'll call the question. The motion carries 4-0.
Chairwoman, is it okay if I would bring Dr. Cunningham, his family, and the Director of Public Safety up to say a few words?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, if you all would come up, congratulate him.
First, let me say congratulations, Chief Cunningham. It's an honor to be here this morning and to see you approved as our new fire chief. I have the utmost confidence in your ability and your beautiful wife here. I know she's proud of you, as we all are. And man, what a great department that you have. I think we have one of the greatest fire services in the country, no doubt, with dedicated men and women. And I know you're honored to lead them. So with that being said, congratulations again.
It's a humbling experience and an absolute honor to stand here before you as the new fire chief. I don't want to get emotional, so I apologize. But to be part of the legacy as the 7th fire chief of this wonderful department and the legacy that the other chiefs have laid out there before us to set that standard of excellence, it's a big shoes to fill. But I have an incredible group of command staff members here and an amazing department of women and men who are committed and dedicated to professionalism and serving this community that we love so much. First and foremost, I have to thank God, because without Him guiding every step of this journey, it means nothing, and I know that He'll continue to guide me. Chairwoman, commissioners, thank you so much for the trust and confidence that you have in me to serve and lead this department. And Dr. McMorris and Director, thank you for your leadership, your support, your guidance through this entire process, and I look forward to serving you and continued support and leadership. To my wife, my beautiful wife, and my family, and my friends that support me. Thank you. I couldn't do it without you. I'm grateful. And to the command staff and the women and men that serve this department, I am honored, truly honored, to stand alongside you and continue this tradition of excellence while we serve this department, this community, the citizens and visitors. Thank you. I'm humbled, and I'm excited about the future. So thank you so much.
Photo time. Yes, if you all wouldn't mind coming down and being in this photo, please. Thank you. Takes a second. After we take this photo, if you all would be so gracious as to allow us to ask the command staff to come up and take a photo with our new chief, I'd appreciate that as well. Former chiefs, if you all would come up as well. I see Sam and Chief Johnson. If you all would join us, we appreciate it.
before we have our public hearing, I know Commissioner Burrow had a statement that she desired to read, so I will turn things over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. I hope and pray that this is the last time I will have a statement for the record prior to my vote on this Board of Commissioners regarding home rule. From the very beginning, when this started over 2 years ago, I said it should not have been done, especially without a unanimous decision by this board. We all knew that that only the legislature has the authority and power when it comes to redistricting. Yet the majority of this board voted to challenge the constitutionality of this state law. Finally, after several lawsuits, the home rule map being deemed unconstitutional twice by Judge Harris and once by Judge Hill in Superior Court, and a denial of Richardson's application to appeal by the Georgia Court of Appeals, the long drawn-out saga of home rule has come to an end. The District 2 seat is vacant, and today is the primary special election for Districts 2 and 4. We all said that it wasn't fair that Richardson was drawn out of her district in the middle of her term, but it was our own enabling legislation that kept her out, not the state law. This board could have prevented this costly debacle by requesting the Cobb delegation to amend our local enabling legislation, but instead put us all through a waste of time and money to continue in the courts. I've said before that taxpayers should be furious for the time and expense that we endured throughout this court battle, and all should know what was spent time-wise and money. I know of 6 attorneys with the county attorney's office that worked on this home rule case at some point in time, but what we don't know is the number of hours spent and the cost associated. Thank you all for your patience and endurance during this difficult time. 2 takeaways from all this comes down to this. The county does not have home rule powers when it comes to reapportionment. Never has and probably never will. Only the legislature does. And we have asked the Cobb delegation to amend our local enabling legislation so that this doesn't happen in the future. Through all this, for over 2 years, Richardson did serve her full 4-year term and an additional month in January this year as a de facto commissioner until the Court of Appeals denial came down. We all took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, the state of Georgia, and Cobb County, and I intend to continue that promise and follow the law.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrow. Are there any other statements that are desired of commissioners at this time? For those of you who are here and those of you who are watching, we have addressed this on multiple instances. I can share that when we had the very novel activity of having a district commissioner drawn out of their seat by bypassing the interest of our local delegation, which is the customary practice of the state, in working with our legal office, we did challenge, or we did assert, I would say, home rule power. We believe that this was a gray area of our state constitution, and there is legal due process for those that do question or those that do assert something under our Constitution, and that is what the courts are for. This board defended the integrity of this board in doing what we could to protect the integrity of all 5 commissioners, and we worked together to see how we could maintain all 5 members who were duly elected to this board. It is unfortunate that the state has not followed the process that they have followed for their other counties in not abiding by what has been proposed by our local delegation, because the state continues to assert that local rule should reign when it comes to local matters. But it seems as if there is no local rule when the state doesn't rule on their areas of interest, and that is something that we've learned. But I appreciate all of us getting past this point. I appreciate the fact that we do have an election today. It's going to allow us to move forward. And at the end of April, we will have finality with having elections to both Districts 2 and 4 so that we can have a fully functioning 5-member Board of Commissioners duly elected by their citizens. With that, Commissioners, I'm going to move on to the public hearing portion of this meeting. We have 2 public hearings before us. The first one is with the South Cobb Water Reclamation Facility, and it will be presented by our Water Systems Director, Judy Jones.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners, and County Manager. The Water System requests the Board of Commissioners conduct a public hearing for employment of consulting services where contract fees will likely exceed $100,000 for the South Cobb Water Reclamation Facility Biosolids Thickening System Replacement, Program Number T3027. The Water System intends to issue a request for proposals to select a consultant or consulting firm to provide professional services for the design of the replacement of the existing dissolved air flotation tanks with rotary drum thickeners as the means of thickening treated sewage solids prior to dewatering and disposal. The existing thickening system has been in service since 1993 and has exhausted its useful life. The scope of services will include data collection, preliminary and detailed designs, and preparation of permits and bid documents and assistance during bidding.
Thank you, Director. We will open up the public hearing to anyone that desires to address this matter and this matter only. We'll take an unlimited number of speakers to address the board for up to 3 minutes. And I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing now. All right, not seeing any speakers, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, do you have any questions for our director? Okay, not hearing any. Thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you.
We will now move on to our second public hearing of the day, and also our second public hearing to address the board opting out of the statewide adjusted base year ad valorem homestead exemption for Cobb County, which our voters voted on in November, and this is with respect to House Bill 581. I will turn things over to our Chief Financial Officer.
Chairwoman, thank you for
To,
the summary of the public
lead
hearing,
us on.
and I'm going to have Stephen walk through the presentation, and we're both available to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners,
Good
Dr. McMorris. Appreciate the opportunity to go through some slides, and then we're happy to answer any questions that you may have. As you are aware, House Bill 581 became law on January 1st. It creates a statewide homestead float that limits the taxable increase to homesteaded properties for no more than the inflationary rate for that year. And that number would be provided to all the assessors' offices around the state by the Revenue Commissioner. As you're aware as well, this does allow all taxing authorities to opt out if they so choose. We are in the program now because it is law, so the action would be to opt out if you so choose. The Board of Education and cities, they are taxing authorities as well, and they will make their own decisions in regards to how they should proceed forward as well. As our point says, authorizes most local governments with the new homestead exemption to levy a new sales tax. And Dante Handel with ACCG provided some information last time. Dante, unfortunately, is at the Capitol today. However, that is an offset that does need to go to the voters for permission if they so choose. Does not remove any current exemptions. That's a very important point because I think a lot of taxpayers are concerned about their current float that they have as well as school tax exemption. This does not remove any current exemptions that a taxpayer has in place. So this would be the impact if the county stays in. There would be no impact on the general fund because we currently have a homestead float on our general fund, and it is a total frozen value. The House Bill 581 value, as we mentioned earlier, can go up according to the percentage that the Revenue Commissioner would so choose based on Consumer Price Index. So since the county general fund the float program is a better program, we can use that. We don't have to stay with 581 if the county were to stay in. However, it would affect the fire fund because there is no homestead float on our fire fund. So since there's no float, this would be, currently, this would go on to the fire fund and would be limited in the increase according to the percentage that the revenue commissioner were deemed for that year. However, it is also important to note that the revenue commissioner has informed all assessors' offices that whatever the value was in 2024, the taxable value, it would carry forward in 2025 as well. There would be no change. This program, in effect, would start in 2026 on limiting the increase. So it would be a freeze on the fire fund value, the taxable value, for 2025, and taxpayers would start to see an increase in that number if the revenue commissioner provided us a positive number for the fire fund. Now, what happens if the county were to opt out? Again, there would be no change to the general fund. So the general fund float program would stay in place, no change. The fire fund would continue to see the normal increases or decreases that taxpayers have seen in the past years. There would be no change to that. It would simply ride along just as it has in the past. We're happy to entertain any questions that you may have, and
Thank you, Stephen. What I'd like to do is open up the public hearing and then have commissioners ask any questions or share any comments after the public addresses the board. So with that, similar to the prior public hearing, we'll take an unlimited number of speakers to address the board on House Bill 581 for up to 3 minutes. And we'll go ahead and get started. Kirsty, you may begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. My name is Christy Miner of Cobb County. I'm here to urge that you opt out of 581, regardless of what everybody's talking about on the surface here, and it certainly sounds like Cobb has a good homestead exemption. I think that, especially given the fact that how many years have you been fighting for home rule and to maintain sovereignty and control of things that technically, unfortunately, we didn't have it because of the law. Why are we going to just hand over to the legislature, here, you take control and authority and make all of these decisions? In the long run, it's not wise, and it certainly does not seem to be the the traditional will of the board as well. And the fire fund, congratulations, I'm very excited. Chief Cunningham, what a moving presentation. Very grateful for all of the public safety folks. I have all confidence that this board has always supported public safety and will find a way. It's in the long run, it does not make any sense for us to have the state take control over this decision. So please opt out of 581. Thank you.
I didn't share. We've had a number of new speakers with respect to this hearing. If you can just state your name before you begin speaking, and you'll see a clock up there that will let you know
Okay.
your 3 minutes has run. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And my name is Dondra Roberts. I've never done this before, but I've lived in Cobb County for 45 years, and I want to be able to afford to continue to live there the rest of my life. So thank you for all that you've done. And I'm just here to say that I feel like it's important that we opt out of the House Bill 581. Thank you for the freedom to speak.
Good morning. Sorry I'm late. My name's Craig Harfoot. Just nod if this is a public hearing for UDC or home.
This is House Bill 581. House Bill 581.
Okay. Thank you. I apologize. Like I said, I really want to know more about this, but apparently there's even bills in the legislature now to extend the deadline for this. And I wasn't happy when they didn't lower the millage rate last year, but it seems like, you know, the law they put in effect, the House bill that we're talking about, was designed more for the rural counties to get more money. There's bills about that in the legislature right now. And I know that for years, they've been siphoning off our tax assessments and spreading them around the state too. But our assessments, the basic problem is that you got land values at $400,000 in my area of East Cobb, and there's no affordability. And it's like, my mom lived in a rural area in Jefferson County, and I know the problems they got, you know, and that's all agrarian pretty much down there. So the only solution I see is we need to spend less money. I mean, with everything in the news today, I mean, they're talking about cutting federal spending, which in fact is going to cut dollars to us. So somehow we got to learn to, you know, get along. And on another note, but still in this same vein, how do you have affordable housing? And I was reading, and I forwarded it, I think, but the Amish are down there in North Carolina helping rebuild the houses were lost in Helen. And this is not federal. This is nothing. This is them helping other people, not even in their state. And I know we can do that here. I mean, Habitat was supposed to be like that, but the whole thing is, yeah, we should maybe opt out. But the thing is, we need to figure out how to take the tax burden off everybody before everybody that's mortgaged loses everything. Thank you.
We'll take our next speaker. Yes, sir.
Leroy Emkin, living in Cobb County, 25 years. I agree with the speaker who stated that it would be better for the county to maintain its own homestead exemption control rather than turning this over to the state. So I am encouraging the board to opt out of this possible move of homestead exemption into state control, completely retain it within the county. The other, I expressed concern the last time that we discussed about this at one of the previous meetings, related to an possible increase in sales tax. And our chair, Lisa Cupid, clarified that issue and made it more tolerable. The concern was that the tax could be increased by 3 pennies. 3 pennies instead of 6%, a 50% increase in sales tax to 9-cent sales tax. This is intolerable, but it was explained that, as it was just recently, that this is something that would have to go out to the public for a vote. And I remember last time it was stated that it could be 1 cent increase from 6 cents to 7 cents, or 8 cents, or 9 cents sales tax. But you can't think in terms of 1 penny, 2 pennies, or 3 pennies. A 1 penny increase is a 17% increase in sales tax. A 3 penny increase in sales tax is a 50% increase in sales tax. None of us can afford a 50% increase in sales tax. So I look forward to the public vote that it be taken down. But with respect to homestead exemption, I encourage you to keep it within Cobb County and don't pass it on to the state. You guys on the board do a great job with respect to homestead exemption. Please maintain control.
Chair, Commissioners, Christine Rosman, and also please opt out of House Bill 581. Yes, it was voted on, and it was pretty ambiguous what it was going to do, what kind of impact it was going to have. And in theory, it sounded like, oh, this would be good. In reality, like Leroy just said, it could increase our taxes by another 50%. So it was poorly written, and I guess Craig already said too, is that there's talk of extending this and not having the vote come up as soon because of all the ambiguity with it. We already have a homestead exemption, and please opt out. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers to address this matter and this matter only? Okay. Not seeing any, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll turn things over to commissioners to ask Bill and Stephen any questions you may have. Commissioner Gamble, I'll start with you.
So has the legislator extended the deadline? Because I know a couple of our speakers referenced the deadline being extended. Has that been formally extended by the legislators?
Not yet. Has
Not
not.
yet.
Correct. There is a bill down there, has not passed.
And wasn't there another bill that also extended this to like 2027 or 2029?
2029.
2029. And as
Not
far
passed
as, it has not passed yet, but is it changing the trajectory that Cobb County is currently on as far as our intentions to issue a resolution potentially at the hearing in 2 weeks?
The Department of Revenue has not issued to the assessor's office any direction in regards to change. I think that they'll probably wait and see what happens with that and then issue some formal direction, but we have not received anything as of yet.
Okay, and then other mention was made about a public vote for additional taxes. We know that's the floss, the lost, and the host, which makes up those 3 cents. I'm not aware of the county at this time considering either of those 3 options. Are you? For
I am not
taxation?
aware.
I am not aware of that either. So this just leaves the option on the table. Regardless of whether we opt in or opt out, it does not remove that option from the county. So basically, all the cities have to participate or have an existing exemption or better. So whether the flossed will be an eligible option for the county will really come down to some of the city's decisions. Austell, I believe, is the only city in the county that does not have a float. So if they stay in, and regardless of whether the county opts out or opts in, that would be an option. But if it's an option, just as you said, Commissioner, whether it's a lost, a host, or a flossed, all of those have to come back to the voters for their approval. And we have not received any direction to move in that pathway at this time.
Thank you for asking that clarifying question. Commissioner Burrow.
Thank you. This is our second public hearing, and we have to have a third, which will be our night meeting in this month, and then a vote on the resolution if we choose to opt out. I too have heard that there are bills in the hopper downtown at the Capitol, but I think we need to stay on this March 1 deadline. This will be our second public hearing, and because if it passes, it could pass in March or April before the legislature adjourns, and then we'd be stuck not opting out. So is the recommendation to keep on this path to opt out so that we meet all the requirements technically by March 1 now?
I think it's wise to keep on the timeline, because if nothing happens that's new, you would still have to adhere by the March 1st deadline.
Right, I agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brawl. Commissioner Sheffield.
Yeah, just a question of clarification. At the chairwoman's town hall over the weekend, the question of FLOST came up, and I presented a question as to whether or not, if a FLOST was imposed, which is the floating local option sales tax, connected to this bill, if the voters would have to vote on it annually, or is it just a one-time vote?
So we
Or whatever the cadence is, whether it's annually.
So we're going to get, the term limit is what we're going to get clarification on, is how long that term is for a FLOST, a lost, or a host. It depends on, like, for example, our SPLOST is a 6-year. So we believe that the way that it would work is very similar to that, where upon implementation, the voters would have to vote to approve, and upon renewal. But we are clarifying that with ACCG as we speak.
Okay, all right.
But it would not be, we do not believe it would be an annual vote.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to piggyback on this question around additional 3 pennies. A host or a lost, are those options that could be available to the county irrespective of House Bill 581?
Absolutely, yes.
Could a FLOST be available to the county irrespective of 581? Or is
So-
that solely a consideration under the House bill?
This was actually created under the 581. So this is a new option that was available to the county. But as you said, Chairwoman, the lost and the host has been available for years. And but the same practice would apply. You still have to go out to voter approval to issue those.
So there's no additional vulnerability under House Bill 581 to go all the way up to 9 cents with the lost or the host?
No, the county has one more slot. So as the county works today, you have 3 slots available to us. We use one slot for eSPLOST for the education. We use one slot for our existing sales tax or SPLOST that we have today. And then you'd have one more slot available to you, which would either be a lost, a host, and now you would have a FLOST as a new option.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
When you say we have one more slot, can you clarify what that means?
So there is a limit that the county can have 3 additional sales taxes, and because we already have 2 between the county's SPLOST and the Board of Education's eSPLOST, those take up 2 of those 3 slots. So we have one more available to us, and either of the 3 that we have outstanding with the creation of 581 would be a lost, a host, or a FLOST. But you cannot do all 3 or 2 of the 3.
Thank you for making that very plain. Is that clear to you, Mr. Emkin? That yes, because it's been asserted in multiple town hall meetings about going up to 9 cents. But I think it's important to share that we have 3 sales taxes that could be available to the county. We are already utilizing 2, and we could potentially add another one via a FLOST, lost, or host.
That's correct.
And the FLOST option is an option made available through House Bill 581, but the lost and host options have been available to the county.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gamble.
I'd like to piggyback off on that because I think what you said was very critical when you included the eSPLOST in the county portion of pennies that we can take. Because it's also out there that the school board themselves can essentially put forth a FLOST or their own separate 1 penny tax. Could you please address that, please?
Sure, and Stephen, please correct me if you hear me say anything incorrect, but the school board does not have the FLOST option. It is simply to the counties and cities because it is shared amongst the county and cities that participate in that program. If a FLOST was issued, the school board would not receive any of those tax proceeds. So they cannot issue their own, and they cannot participate in the FLOST program. That is simply counties and cities strictly that can participate.
So I understand.
Okay.
And then also just to clarify, the school board themselves cannot put forth a host or a lost either because they fall under the county.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Sheffield.
If you can just, for the FLOST, lost, and the other, if you can just for the benefit of the public, just kind of briefly explain what each of those mean.
Okay, so I'll start with the FLOST.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so that is designed to be 100% rollback of property taxes. So what we'll do is the first year you would have that, you'd collect property tax revenue and the sales tax revenue. And the next year, what you do is roll back for whatever you collected in the sales tax would go to offset property taxes. So you'd receive a reduction to your property taxes that you would owe on the following year. And then that would continue through the duration of the FLOST program. It is designed to be a revenue neutral program, as all of these are. These are not designed to generate additional dollars. They're all designed to be a rollback to property taxes. The differences between those come down to some of the restrictions that are posed on those. For example, floss can be used for anything that would be used to reduce in the general fund property tax component only. So that's anything personnel, operating capital, whatever that was pre-existing, it can be used to fund those objects because we're just simply reducing the property tax revenue that we collect. The lost and the host have some different requirements. Some of those have requirements on what they can be used for and what they cannot be used for, but they're still designed to be a reduction to property tax revenue. That part remains unchanged. Just what the county is allowed to use those on is the differences between the lost and the host, because some of those have more restrictive purposes. For example, if it has a capital component, and let's say we don't have capital needs that year or have that as a part of our budget, that creates some challenges. And I think that's one of the reasons the county has stayed away from a lost and a host previously, is the restrictions tied to those specifically. The floss removes a lot of those restrictions and says, if we're going to reduce your property tax revenue, we're going to let you use it for anything you would have used property tax revenue for. So it does loosen that up a little bit, but all three programs are designed to reduce the property tax payments that citizens would make.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for asking that question. We've been discussing these for several hearings, but it's helpful to get this clarifying information for us and also the public. Yes, Commissioner Burrow.
So with the flossed, well, actually with HB 581, the percentage is capped at 3%, correct?
It is capped based on what the revenue commissioner provides on an annual basis. So it could be 3%, it could be 1%, it could be 7%. Whatever they provide is what it's capped at. So that's what we don't know what that would be going forward. And I believe, Stephen, did you say consumer price index?
That's correct.
Right.
Yes.
It's based on the CPI, but
Yeah.
I thought it was still capped at 3%.
It is whatever they provide. If they provide
Okay.
a 5%, it is now capped at 5% for that year. But an important point that I know Stephen
Okay.
made in a previous meeting, it does not mean you will go up 5%. If your reassessment is not at 5% or higher, it does not go up that. But it just limits the increase you can have.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Commissioners, do you have any other questions for Bill and Stephen? Thank you so much for presenting and answering our questions. For our citizens, please know that we'll have one more hearing at our night meeting in 2 weeks, and we will be making a decision on opting in or opting out at that meeting. Thank you, Bill. With that, that takes us to our first public comment, and I'll turn things over to our county attorney, Bill Rowland.
Thank you, Chairwoman. As the board provides the podium for public comment, it's appropriate to review some of the related meeting rules. If you come forward, please state your name, and if you're speaking on behalf of an organization. All comments should be made to the commission as a body and addressed through the chair. Public comment is not a dialogue with the board, but an opportunity for speakers to provide their comments to the board. Comments should not be slanderous. The board encourages, regardless of the topic, for the audience to be respectful and courteous to all speakers. Everyone attending this meeting should give others the right to both listen and to be heard by treating each other with civility. Statements made during the public comments portion do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the board or the administration of Cobb County government. And as the chairwoman mentioned earlier, there is a timer on the podium to keep track of your 3 minutes. The first speaker who's signed up is Leroy Emkin.
Thank you. Leroy Emkin, living in Cobb County. An issue of trust. I'm going to summarize court cases. February 22, 2022, Georgia legislature approves county commission district map, which draws Commissioner Jerica Richardson out of District 2. March 2022, Governor Brian Kemp signs the approved district map into law. October 22, Cobb County Board of Commissioners pass a home rule resolution supplanting the state map with a 3-2 vote. December 22 through March 23, 2 lawsuits were filed against the home rule district map. January 2024, Cobb Superior Court Judge Harris rules the commission's home rule map as unconstitutional. July 24, the Cobb Board of Elections sues Cobb County, seeking clarity on the issue of home rule. Cobb Superior Court Judge Kelly Hill rules the home rule map is unconstitutional and orders special elections to be held for the District 2 and District 4 seats on the commission. August 24, the Cobb Board of Commissioners votes to abandon its home rule map and switches to the map passed by the state legislature. September 24, the Cobb Board of Commissioners sends a vacancy notice to Ms. Richardson. November 2024, Ms. Richardson files in Cobb Superior Court to overturn the Board of Commissioners' notice to vacate her seat. December 31st, 2024, Ms. Richardson was ordered to vacate her seat by Cobb Superior Court Judge Ann Harris. January 2025, Ms. Richardson appeals Superior Court Judge's ruling to vacate her seat. February 5th, 2025, the Georgia State Court of Appeals declined to take up Ms. Richardson's appeal without providing a reason. Ms. Richardson is no longer serving as a Cobb County Commissioner. I am distressed by the fact that there was a vote of 3-2 to have home rule. I'm distressed by the fact that there may be one or more commissioners among the 3 who voted for home rule that have a legal background and should know that the Constitution of the state of Georgia gives the state legislature the sole and exclusive authority to decide on district maps, not the county. And yet, we were subjected since 2022, when the home rule resolution was passed, October 2022, through 2025, 3 years. And I just don't understand how members of the board, 3 members of the board, who understand the Constitution of the state of Georgia, still chose to ignore the state constitution and use the courts to try to change the meaning of the state constitution. Thank you.
The next speaker is Christine Rosman.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. At first, when Leroy said he was going to talk about that, I'm like, why beat a dead horse? It's over with, but it's really not. We've been beating a dead horse for years now. And the fact is that the ripple effect of that bad decision of a former commissioner and 2 current commissioners to keep this going with all the lawfare and the ripple effect of somewhere, because we don't know how much it is. Is it $3 million? Is it $5 million? We don't even know how much this has cost us. Not only cost us financially, but cost us in mental and spiritual coin of the people that live in this county and put their money into buying a house here, and it's like a banana republic. So I appreciate the 2 commissioners that we have that use a lot of common sense and listen to their constituents. I just wanted to talk quickly about DOGE. I'm sure everybody knows about that now, the Department of Government Efficiency, and would love to DOGE Cobb County and see if there might be some places where we could tighten the belt. Some of the impact that it's had nationally and internationally is because federal monies were going to DEI, not only right in DC and, for the whole nation, but also money's going to other countries to try to influence them to get on the DEI bandwagon. And so that DEI bandwagon is kind of coming to a screeching halt. And I would love to know how much money, and I guess I can do an ORR, is find out how much money is going to DEI in Cobb County. Because that's another dead horse. And so we have to get rid of that one. One of the things that they did say, one of the impact, and I was really surprised with this, is that a whole crew shows up in Springfield, Ohio, population 58,000 people. Metro Springfield, 136,000 people. For 12 years, they had 3 blocks that they couldn't get anybody to fill those potholes. And so they show up 6 a.m., they get every pothole done in a 3-block area, and they're done by noon. And you have the citizens saying, oh my God, we've been trying to get this done for 12 years. So I want to know, is Cobb County going to find out that there might be some things that are being, or have some oversight? So anyway, thank you.
The next speaker is Patricia Burns.
Good morning. I'm Pat Burns from Friends of the Concord Covered Bridge Historic District, Cobb County's first historic district. I'm going to tell you a story today, an incredible story that's unique, rare, and binding. On the cusp of Black History Month, a little over 2 weeks ago, descendants of Matilda Ruff came to visit. Matilda was the formerly enslaved woman owned by Martin Luker Ruff in the 1860s when he was a landowner near the covered bridge. Matilda's family contacted our preservation organization after learning about the Toni Morrison bench placement and Matilda's garden in the historic district. Descendant Tanya Cotton, a family matriarch, is a historical interpreter at George Washington's Mount Vernon estate in Virginia. From her, we learned Matilda's descendants had changed their surname and moved from Georgia around the 1930s, which explains why I reached a dead end in trying to locate them earlier. Among the Sunday afternoon guests were family members of all ages, right down to a little 3-year-old great-great-great-great-great-great-granddaughter. They all came to visit the Ruff House, the bench, and the historic district. I had chills seeing this family, descendants of a slave woman, walk up the front steps to enter the front door of the Ruff House. Toni Morrison Society President, Dr. Carolyn Denard, was also there to welcome the family. She noted that this is the only bench to recognize a specific formerly enslaved family, and it's the only one in Cobb County. Our county, Cobb County, can feel proud during this special month of Black history that a rare and unique reunion took place under the auspices of Friends of the Concord Covered Bridge.
The next speaker is Timothy Reese.
Good morning, Cobb County Commissioners. Timothy Rice, resident of Cobb County. The start of a second American Revolution began in earnest on November 5th, 2024, when the voters of Cobb County went on offense and defeated the Cobb Commissioners 62-38 and reelected Donald Trump President of the United States. The last 2 weeks, we've witnessed DOJ targeting the fraud, abuse, and waste of the USAID agency, and I mention these two together as we can likely surmise that the mobility splost of 2024 had some connections to federal grant money, perhaps offered as part of the Inflation Reduction Act. Splost, to me, mobility seemed to start taking shape in 2021 when that Inflation Reduction Act was passed. I also mention the two because candidate Eric Allen expressed some concern about the uncertainty of the federal grants impacting the Cobb community at the recent candidate forum. Let this be a reminder of your duty and responsibility with the people's money. This is just a historical example. After the American Revolution, there were instances of tar and feathering involving elected representatives and government officials. One notable example occurred in 1791 during the Whiskey Rebellion, when tax collectors enforcing Alexander Hamilton's excise tax on whiskey were tarred and feathered by an angry group of farmers in western Pennsylvania. While these were not elected representatives, they were federal officials carrying out government policy. Let the Second American Revolution continue. Spend our money wisely. I will be submitting a request to the Chairwoman Cupid, as well as the Financial Director, through a Freedom of Information Act, hopefully according to Georgia requirements, that we'll be requesting some more information about the mobility splost. I realize it's water under the bridge, but I would like to learn more about some of the things that happened. Thank you very much.
Craig Harfoot.
Good morning. My name's Craig Harfoot. Finally, resolution to the illegal holding of a district chair seat. But the bigger problem is that's still all hanging out there were all those 3-2 votes that she was the 3 that are basically not legal votes because she wasn't eligible to hold the seat. And I wonder how you're going to resolve all this, especially Lower Roswell Road, which it was the new district, it's Joanne Burrell's, but that was a 3-2 vote. And there's a lawsuit. I know there's a lawsuit by the Blockbuster property, former property where the pizza place is. And they're already setting power poles on there. You know, setting them back on the Bank of America, McDonald's. They're moving their sign. So, I mean, that's a real mess. And I hope you have a way of cleaning it up. But what I wanted to talk about really is regarding House Bill, is that, now, I don't know how many of you know, but our per student cost here in Cobb County is $11,000. I think Atlanta's $18,000. And all of Buckhead sends their people to private school. I mean, they're really messed up in Atlanta, but the other counties are, give or take, near close to ours. Gwinnett. But the problem is with these splosts, the county gets a splost, the school gets a splost. So, and you guys don't talk anymore. I mean, I understand you got 2 ponds here, and you used to have to coordinate. We got an empty school I drove past on Lower Roswell Road, and it's like, if you're not coordinating with the schools, you're wasting money because they got to build schools as, you know, neighborhoods change. And, you know, if you build something density, I mean, Brumby is a big example, spent a whole lot of money on that land that had cows on it for most of the time I lived here. And right there is where you can start saving money. And then the other part is they gave all the teachers raises and all, but I'm helping my grandkids with homework, and you know, they're not hitting the basics, you know, like add, subtract, but don't have enough time. But you need to work with the school. You got to coordinate everything.
Mr. Harfoot, your time's up. That was the last public speaker.
Thank you, Bill. We are now at the consent agenda portion of this meeting, where we vote on a number of items in bank or all at once. And those matters were scrolling on the screen prior to this meeting, and will scroll on the screen at the conclusion of this meeting. Commissioners, I'm aware of one change to the consent agenda, which is agenda item number 17, pertaining to the stormwater unit price contract with Ray Campbell Contracting. It adds in a line for additional funding, and everyone should have received a pink sheet with respect to that. That's the only change I'm aware of, unless, let me see here. We did have a slight change to agenda item 22 to reflect the proper districts of 1, 2, and 3, which was discussed yesterday in our agenda session. Commissioners, are there any other changes or matters you'd like for me to address before we vote on this? Okay, not hearing any commissioners, I move that we approve the matters on our consent agenda as they have been revised.
Second.
And to authorize execution, well,
sorry.
I'll hold that second, that's okay. And authorize execution of the necessary documents by the appropriate county personnel.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? I'll call the question. We need one more vote up there. Thank you. The motion carries 4-0. Thank you, commissioners. We'll now go to the regular tabs of this agenda, and we'll begin with transportation.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners, County Manager Drew Ressler with DOT. We have 6 items for your consideration on the regular tab this morning. Our first item is to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve project number B2308 Task Order number 1 to the 2022 Master Task Order contract with Lowe Engineers LLC in an amount not to exceed $84,472 for preliminary engineering design of east-west connector corridor improvements, authorize the corresponding budget transaction, and further authorize the chairwoman to execute the necessary documents.
Thank you, Drew. Commissioner Sheffield.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Our next item this morning is to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve a contract with Acceler Construction LLC in an amount not to exceed $228,700 for Cumberland Parkway from Paces Walk to Paces Ferry Road, project number B2304, authorize a corresponding budget transaction, and further authorize the chairwoman to execute the necessary documents.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Our next item is to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve a project framework agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation for preliminary engineering design of Cumberland Sweep Segment D, Cobb County project number B2434. Approve a Cobb framework agreement with the Cumberland Community Improvement District for said project. Approve a consultant service agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates in an amount not to exceed $418,250.09 for said project. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairwoman to execute the necessary documents.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Ball or Gamble? Go ahead, Commissioner Gamble.
Drew, I found the conversation that Commissioner Burrell initiated in work session yesterday very helpful, because I was originally going to not support this agenda item, but can you explain to the public how the Cumberland Sweep is not necessarily just for the beep anymore?
Of course. No, I appreciate the opportunity to provide a little bit more context. So the Cumberland CID has identified a need to improve just mobility throughout the core of their district through, yes, an autonomous shuttle, but also bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure throughout the district. Initially, those were all looked at in tandem with the assumption that the autonomous shuttle would need to be in dedicated right-of-way, dedicated space in order to be able to successfully operate. But as they've observed and tested the technology, they've recognized that there are some efficiencies from having that run in lane throughout the majority. And so the sweep has really evolved over time to separate out the AV shuttle aspect and the CID is still interested in looking at how that can serve as a circulator, but these projects, segments D, E, and F, have really turned into bicycle and pedestrian projects, looking at how those areas could be better connected for walking and biking through the district to connect those key areas. Each of these projects is supported exclusively by the CID and outside grant funding. The county does not have any funding in any of these projects, but we are the administrators, given our certification with the Georgia Department of Transportation, to make sure that we remain compliant with various grant requirements. Is that covered?
Thank you. Commissioner Brawl, did you want to add anything?
No, just appreciate the clarification and that no county funding is being provided.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Also related to the sweep, our next agenda item is to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve a project framework agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation for preliminary engineering design of Cumberland Sweep Segment E, Cobb County Project Number B2433. Approve a Cobb framework agreement with the Cumberland Community Improvement District for said project. Approve a consultant services agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates Incorporated, an amount not to exceed $558,992.85 for said project. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairwoman to execute the necessary documents.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. And our final item related to the sweep is to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve a memorandum of agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation for preliminary engineering design of Cumberland Sweep Segment F, Cobb County Project Number B2450. Approve a Cobb framework agreement with the Cumberland Community Improvement District for said project. Authorize payment of a preliminary engineering oversight fee to the Georgia Department of Transportation in the amount of $35,000. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairwoman to execute the necessary documents.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. And our final item this morning is to recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the revised budget and current schedule for the 2011 Transportation Improvements Program, funded primarily by the 2011 Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax, and authorize the corresponding budget transactions per the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program budget and schedule attached to the agenda item.
All right, so moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
We are now at the tab for parks.
Morning, Chairwoman,
Good morning.
Commissioners, Madam County Manager. Parks does have 4 items for consideration this morning. Our first item is for the Board of Commissioners to approve the reallocation of unspent funding within the 2011 PRCA SPLOST program, that's Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs. The reallocation will allow parks to combine funding from various lines to complete certain open projects in the 2011 Parks SPLOST. The total movement of all funds equals $805,432.08. We ask the Board of Commissioners to approve the reallocation of unspent funding within the 2011 PRCA SPLOST program, authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairwoman to execute the necessary documents.
Thank you. So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Will this really complete the allocation for 2011?
It gets close.
It gets
We still
close.
have, we're going to have one more of these at some point down the line, but it's getting us a lot closer.
Okay.
It's hard to spend $2.28 on anything, so combining that funding does help a little bit. So, yeah, we're getting real close.
All right, very good. All right, we'll call the question. The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. Our second item is to approve expenditures with WE Contracting Company through Cobb County Master Agreement for concrete replacement at Ryan Park, a capital improvement project. Several walkways and areas around the fields have deteriorated over time due to settlement, drainage, and heavy usage that requires the replacement of concrete access areas. Other areas are facing erosion and accessibility challenges necessitating new concrete paths. We ask the Board of Commissioners to approve expenditures with WE Contracting Company through Cobb County Master Agreement for concrete replacement in an amount not to exceed $263,400. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the Director of Procurement Services to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Sheffield.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0.
Our third item is for the Board of Commissioners to approve expenditures with Malden and Cook Fence Company through the Cobb County Master Agreement for fence replacement at Ryan Park, a 2011 PRCA SPLOST project. The fencing at Ryan Park is old and failing due to years of wear and tear. New fencing will be installed all around the fields and in other areas as needed throughout the park. We ask the Board of Commissioners to approve expenditures with Malden and Cook Fence Company through Cobb County Master Agreement for fence replacement at Ryan Park in an amount not to exceed $213,800 under the 2011 Park Splash Program. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions and further authorize the Director of Procurement Services to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Sheffield.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any, go ahead.
Just discussion that it's been revised with the figure.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioners, you should have a pink sheet from
Yep.
the clerk's office.
Have it. Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0.
Our final item is for the Board of Commissioners to approve expenditures with All-Star Electrical and Lighting Services through Cobb County Master Agreement for electrical improvements and upgrades at Ryan Park, a 2011 PRCA SPLOST project. The softball fields at Ryan Park have obsolete metal halide fixtures, which are beyond their useful life. New generation LED athletic fixtures will be installed, which use half the electricity of the old fixtures and require less repair and maintenance. We ask the Board of Commissioners to approve expenditures with All-Star Electric and Lighting Services through Cobb County Master Agreement for electrical improvements and upgrades at Ryan Park in an amount not to exceed $283,566.40 under the 2011 PRCA SPLOST program. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions and further authorize the Director of Procurement to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Sheffield.
Brantley, thank you for bringing these agenda items forward. I'm sure our Smyrna residents appreciate the improvements. So thank you. So moved.
All right. I'll second. Is there any further discussion? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
We now have one agenda item under ITS.
Good morning, Chairwoman, Commissioners, and County Manager. Our item this morning is a joint item with Community Development to request your approval of a 5-year sole source contract with Acela Inc. to migrate to the Acela Cloud software, partially funded by the 2016 SPLOST Project X0020, in an amount not to exceed $2,486,049.03. Approve a 10% contingency fund in the amount of $29,800. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions, and further authorize the chairwoman to execute the necessary documents.
Thank you. So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Kimberly. We are now at our second public comment.
No one signed up in the portion.
All right. That then takes us to our appointment tab. And Commissioners, I move that we approve the appointments of Lieutenant Kenneth Cromer, who I believe is here in the audience. Is he here? Thank you for being here today. And Avril Mortgage, and approve the reappointments of Dayton Hibbs and Marty Weatherby to the Board of Family and Children's Services.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? I'll call the question. The motion carries 4-0. And then we do have one announcement by Commissioner Brawl.
Thank you. I would like to announce the appointment of Richard Durden to the Neighborhood Safety Commission, and he replaces Carlton Stott, and we thank Carlton for his many years of service and welcome Richard.
Thank you, Commissioner. That concludes our appointments. We are now in our Commissioner Public Address. Once the slides are loaded, you may begin, Commissioner Gamble.
While February 14th is known as Happy Valentine's Day, February is also known for American Heart Month, a time dedicated to raising awareness about cardiovascular health and promoting heart-healthy habits. As the leading cause of death in the U.S., heart disease remains a major health concern, but it is largely preventable. Take charge of your heart health by maintaining a balanced diet, staying active, managing stress, and avoiding tobacco use. Small lifestyle changes can make a big difference in reducing the risk of heart disease and stroke. And have a happy Valentine's Day. And lastly, our town hall for 2025 is going to be on March 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the West Cobb Senior Center, which is located at 4915 Dallas Highway in Powder Springs. You can share your topic suggestions, questions, or feedback by emailing myvoice@cobbcounty.org, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Burrow.
Thank you. We had our second public hearing on HB 581 with respect to opting out. And we have one more final public hearing per the requirements Tuesday, February 25th at our 7 p.m. Board of Commissioners meeting. Also, I'd like to call attention to the chairwoman's town halls, community meetings. The next one tomorrow night is in District 3 at the Northeast Cobb Community Center from 7 to 9 p.m., 880 Shaw Park Road. Okay, for those of you who have pets, we are our next free microchip clinic for cats, dogs, birds, and rabbits, February 17th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. 100 chips are available to Cobb residents only, and you do need to make an appointment, and you can email jessica.darrow@cobbcounty.org, and this will take place at the shelter at 1060 Al Bishop Drive, Marietta. Thank you.
Thank you. I was beginning to think FBI was fur baby investigation.
It could be.
Could be. All right, we'll go on to.
Happy Valentine's Day this Friday, February 14th. And spend time with your family and loved ones. And also Monday, February 17th is President's Day. And then contact information for me and my assistant for District 3 if you have any questions or want to sign up for my newsletter. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brawl. Commissioner Sheffield.
Thank you, Chair. You are invited to the long-anticipated opening of the new Cobb WorkSource Center in Mableton on Wednesday, February 12th at 10 a.m. Formerly the old Fire Station 1, the 10,000 square foot facility will operate as a full-service workforce development center and co-working space providing job seekers and businesses with free resources and services. Due to limited parking, please park at Mabel Arts Center at 5239 Floyd Road in Mableton, and shuttles will transport attendees to the event. The Cobb Family Advocacy Center invites you to a lunch and learn on February 19th from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. at 277 Fairground Street in Marietta. This session will cover the importance of culturally relevant support for South Asian survivors of violence and strategies to advocate for immigrant communities to ensure access to safety, legal rights, and resources. Seating is limited, so be sure to scan the QR code on the flyer to RSVP and reserve your spot. Join the American Legion Post 160 pop-up food giveaway on Saturday, February 22nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The food pantry is sponsoring a pop-up food giveaway for our veterans and family members, as well as local communities experiencing food insecurity. The American Legion is located at 160 Legion Drive in Smyrna, and walk-ins are welcome. And finally, the primary special election for Cobb County Commission Districts 2 and 4 is today, February 11th. Only residents of the district can vote and cast ballots at their designated polling places. The general election will take place on April 29th, and the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. today. That concludes my comments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Sheffield. I certainly want to remind people that today is voting day once again for Districts 2 and 4 for the primary. Thank you all for joining us today. I want to thank everyone who participated in our public hearing for House Bill 581. As Commissioner Burrow shared, we do have one additional public hearing that will be at our night meeting, and we've had a number of community meetings, and the next one will be at the Northeast Cobb Community Center the new Northeast Cobb Community Center in District 3 on Wednesday, and hope you will join us at 7 p.m. Want to acknowledge that this is Black History Month, and also acknowledge that this is the month of love. So please regard how we treat one another. Let's regard the various ways that we all came to be here in existence in this country, and all of our desire to make Cobb County and our country the best that it can be for everyone. For those of you who are here for our community development hearing, we will take a recess. We'll come back at 10:45, and then we'll begin our hearing. And this is with respect to the application for the alcoholic beverage license for Vape Vibes, doing business as Vape Vibes off of Austell Road. Thank you, and this will adjourn our meeting until 10:45. Thank you. Hey, how you doing, Craig? All right. Welcome back to our Board of Commissioners meeting this February 11th, 2025. Before us, we have had some development with respect to the alcohol beverage license hearing that we were going to hear. So I'll turn things over to our attorney representing us on this matter, Sam Hensley.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Good afternoon, or I guess it's still morning, Commissioners and Mr. County Attorney, County Manager. I am Sam Hensley, Jr., for the record, representing the Business License Division. We are here initially today on an application for an alcohol license for Vape Vibes LLC, doing business as Vape Vibes, located at 4968 Austell Road, Mableton, Georgia. Mr. Rohail Hada, licensee. In the course of awaiting for this matter to be called before the board, Alicia Webb, the Business License Division Manager, and I were searching the audience for Mr. Hada, who had not appeared. So Alicia called and spoke to him. Mr. Hada indicated that he did not receive notice of today's hearing. We do have evidence that an email was sent, the letter was sent as we normally do, as the business license does, as a matter of course, to notify applicants of an appeal hearing, but we can't prove that he received it. Mr. Hada did indicate that he could not attend today because he had a conflict, but was okay with this matter being rescheduled to March if that's the pleasure of the board. It would be our recommendation to grant that continuance. I know District Commissioner Sheffield, we had a discussion with her about this, and maybe some more investigation as to the application, the location, and so forth. So for today, it would be our recommendation that this board vote to continue this matter until, I think the hearing would be March 11th, or whatever date would be the pleasure of the board to schedule the continued hearing.
Thank you. I'll turn things over to Commissioner Sheffield.
So, Bill, I just need to make a motion and include the name of the applicant.
Yes, the name of the applicant, or I think this is agenda item number 50. You can just
Oh,
move
okay,
it all over.
okay.
That'd be fine.
All right, that's fine. I make a motion then to extend item number 50, agenda item number 50, to the March 11th Board of Commissioners hearing.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Yes.
And when you say extend, I mean,
Oh,
you
I'm
mean
sorry.
continue?
To continue,
Yeah, okay.
excuse me, thank you.
Besides email, is there a letter that goes out, or?
There is, and Ms. Webb can speak to that, but I believe it's by regular mail. I don't know that we send it by certified mail.
Maybe you want to do certified
We
mail
may
for
review
this.
our notification process
Yeah.
because of this,
Yeah.
because we don't want to take the board's time or the applicant's time. Instead of making sure that they remember that it's a hearing, a lot of times they forget, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But I would suggest a certified mail, return receipt requested, and follow up with a phone call, maybe,
Absolutely.
too. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions? We'll call the question. The motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Commissioners, for your time today.
Thank you very much.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.